Okay, good Tuesday evening, everybody. David Paul here in the KHOU 11 Weather Center. This is our look at local weather and tropical weather for the evening. We've had some significant changes in the timeline and the rainfall total forecast for the immediate Houston-Galveston area. It looks like we're going to end this threat on Wednesday night. So we've removed Thursday from our weather impact alert scenario. We're just going to go with Wednesday with a weather impact alert. Now tomorrow, Wednesday, it's the first half of the day from near sunrise to about midday. We will have a threat for heavy rain, especially Houston down to the coast. And after that, things are going to improve. And then we'll lower rain chances significantly Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But the heat will build. Now first, we'll start local, and with all the tens of thousands going to the soccer game at Houston Stadium, NRG, expect rain. There may also be some sun. So if it's a little bit sunny, it could be very hot and humid, but we'll keep a good chance for thunder showers, as I believe we kick off tomorrow at noon. So whether you're arriving at the game or leaving, rain is in the forecast, but things will be improving in the evening. And here's what's happened today. This is new. Hurricane Center has labeled our tropical disturbance, which is right here, as a potential tropical cyclone number 1. So what does that mean? Why do they do this? They do this because this system has the potential to develop, right on the doorstep of the Texas coast. And if it does develop, folks won't have much time to prepare and take action. So even though this is still just an area of disturbed weather, the designation of potential tropical cyclone allows the Hurricane Center to go ahead and begin to produce a forecast cone so that everybody along the coast, marine interests, inland interests, can begin to plan. And we'll look at that forecast cone they put out for this in just a moment. What there is of this currently has sustained winds of about 30 miles an hour. You've got to get to 39 miles an hour to make it a tropical storm, so we're not there. And I wouldn't expect it to be, because the system itself is still sitting here over land. It's got to get over the waters of the Gulf to develop into a depression or a tropical storm. It does have gusts of 40. Those are associated in the stronger thunder showers, and those are currently well offshore, well separated from the actual circulation. What there is of this is moving northeast at 6 miles an hour. Pressure has come down a bit from 1,006 to 1,004 millibars. So even though it's over land, pressures are dropping. Now, just looking at radar, this is a 2-hour loop, and you can see, if you squint, there's your circulation right there. And part of it has emerged over the Gulf. So it's beginning to make that turn to the northeast and push out toward the open water of the Gulf. And that will happen overnight tonight into the early morning hours, and at that point it'll have a chance to grab a hold of the energy over the warm waters of the Gulf and perhaps become a depression or a storm. But look where all the bad weather is right now. It's way out here. A little piece of vorticity spun off, got kicked off into the Gulf. This is all heading toward the Louisiana coast. So Cameron Parish, Vermilion Bay, you guys may have some heavier rain late tonight as that races in your direction. Notice how the Houston area continues to get a break. After we saw some very heavy rain earlier today, things here are improving rapidly. A little closer view, there's your circulation. It's broad, it's a little elongated, so still a system that is struggling to develop. A little closer to home, still have some light showers skirting the Galveston and the coast of the Bolivar Peninsula. These thunderstorms have weakened before they could get up to the Galveston coast. Looks like they're headed toward Cameron Parish. So for the moment, things are relatively quiet across most of southeast Texas and Galveston, and they look to stay that way at least for the next few hours. However, that's where all this stuff is headed right here for the Louisiana coast. And I'll show you here in a second, our quantitative precipitation modeling for precip has moved the heavy rain threat into Louisiana based on the forecast trajectory of this developing system. All that being said, we could have a tropical storm sitting right off the Galveston coast by late tomorrow morning. Could. Therefore, tropical storm watch is in effect. We're in the yellow. That means that it is possible that we could have tropical storm conditions, meaning gusts to 39 miles an hour or above. Heavy rain, heavy surf, surge of 1 to 3 feet is possible if that were to get organized and develop into an actual tropical storm. That is still in question. That's not set in stone. But the bottom line is, on the immediate coast, you're going to begin to feel much stronger conditions down here with an onshore wind, waves building 10, 15 feet in the nearshore waters as we head into tonight and tomorrow morning. And so all Gulf-facing beaches and all roads that are near the Gulf, especially low spots, Highway 87 up the Bolivar, down towards San Luis Pass, ferry operations could be impacted tomorrow through the morning and early afternoon by this strong onshore flow that we're going to get, and at times of high tide that could raise the sea level and the waves coming in 1 to 3 feet. And so some of those low-lying spots could be inundated, especially, as I mentioned, the Gulf-facing beaches. So let's look at the forecast. This is the forecast cone on PTC, potential tropical cyclone number 1, looks like. Here's the system now, and by 1 a.m. they're forecasting it to be right here, just south of Port Lavaca, basically south of Matagorda Bay. So in this position, whether it's just a weak area of low pressure or a tropical storm, it puts Bay City to Galveston to Port Arthur on the dirty side, the onshore flow side of that big counterclockwise rotation. So rain chances remain elevated tonight through the early morning hours of tomorrow. That's at 1 a.m. We'll go into 1 p.m. early in the afternoon on Wednesday afternoon. And by that time, Hurricane Center says maybe it's a tropical storm. Maybe not. This is really going to be interacting with land. It's skirting the coast, so that interaction may inhibit develop. But again, the real threat from this is not going to be wind or surge. It's going to be rain. So between 1 a.m. and 1 p.m. Wednesday, that is when the middle and upper Texas coast will have its greatest rain threat. After that, the moment that circulation exits to the east, Houston-Galveston gets on the dry side, and then Louisiana goes under the gun for all this onshore flow as it's dragged around the counterclockwise rotation. So, Lake Charles, Lafayette, Baton Rouge, New Orleans can expect some very heavy rain as we head into tomorrow and probably into Thursday morning as well. Let's take a look at the wind forecast for the upper Texas coast. These are forecasts for sustained winds. By 8 o'clock tonight, sustained out of the east at 18, sustained out of the east, Brazosport. So really wind impacts will be on the immediate coast and the bay. Inland, not much of an impact. 5, 6, 8 mile an hour winds expected this evening, nothing too out of the ordinary. But on the coast, they're elevated. And as that system pushes off into the Gulf late tonight, early in the morning, those coastal winds are going to pick up. So by 4:30 in the morning, sustained wind coming off the Gulf in Galveston, across the Bolivar Peninsula, and across the bay at about 25, maybe gusting to 30. Below tropical storm force, but certainly enough to elevate surf, and at times of high tide really bring in some inundation to low-lying areas, some of the low-lying parking lots, so some of the beach pocket parks, and Highway 87 right there, rollover pass. Notorious for high water when we get an onshore flow like that. But again, below tropical storm force. Wind forecast modeling takes us up to sustained winds near 30 going into 9 a.m. I think this is when we would see the strongest winds, sustained at about 25 in the Brazosport area. Look at the inland winds, 10 miles an hour Houston, 16 Pearland, 18 Baytown. So north side of the bay, Double Bayou near 20, Baytown 18, that fetch across the bay. We're still going to have some pretty good wind for Baytown, Mont Belvieu, East Harris County, Western Chambers County. But nothing that screams an emergency. Just be very careful near the water. Surf is going to be elevated. You do not want to be swimming in this. Stay away from the beaches and just let this move on by, hopefully without too much of an issue. And then look at this. By the afternoon, by 1:30. So remember, the forecast from the Hurricane Center has our system right about here or so by 1:30. So at that point, our winds just drop off, and that's the end of the wind threat. What there is of it will be heading towards Sabine Pass and Lake Charles and Cameron Parish. So our winds and the whole threat really end in the evening or afternoon and evening tomorrow. Things are improving outside right now in Houston. So bottom line on this, tropical rain is the threat really now through about midday on Wednesday. Street flooding is the greatest issue with that. Inland winds 10 to 20. We see that on a normal day. Coastal winds, more of an impact, 25, maybe some gusts of 40 on the Galveston and upper Texas coast. Let's take a look at rain. So now into 1 a.m. If we're going to see rain, it will be along the coast. But you saw on radar, we're kind of getting a break. I think we really get a break almost everywhere through for the next several hours. So by 1 a.m., an increase in rain offshore and on the coast. And some of this could be quite heavy. I would be very careful, especially driving if you have to drive at night, if you're getting off your shift or you're starting your shift before sunrise. Super careful in low-lying areas. And if you enter some water and you don't know how deep it is on the road, just stop and turn around. Going into the morning, 6:30 in the morning. If interior parts of southeast Texas are going to get any more of these flooding rains, where we get these street ponding and street flooding, it will be early in the morning, around sunrise, maybe before sunrise, as that onshore flow is going to be wrapping in what there is available in the form of rain and some thunderstorms. Perhaps most of the heavy stuff will be offshore. That would be great. I think we're going to get at least some pockets of heavy rain tomorrow morning. We go into noon, and this is interesting modeling. So remember, by noon, 1 o'clock, by noon, that's where the Hurricane Center has our system right here. So even though it's just sitting here on our doorstep, because of where the dirty side is located, which will be here, that puts all of the really bad weather going into the afternoon over the Gulf and not so much inland. We'll already be getting a little northeasterly breeze on the backside of that rotation. And so hopefully this is going to bring our flood threat to a swift end as early as tomorrow afternoon here in Houston, Galveston. After that, by 6:30, much improvement. That's heading toward Louisiana. And I did want to look at Louisiana. So if you have plans, you have work, travel, family, going into Wednesday night, Thursday morning, that blob of rain could bring multiple inches of rain to Louisiana, really Baton Rouge to New Orleans, Slidell, that section of I-10 if you're traveling. Heavily impacted by heavy rain Wednesday night through Thursday morning. That's what it looks like 9 a.m. Thursday morning. Meanwhile, in Houston, sun comes out. We're going to dry out, which is nice, but we're also going to heat up. It's going to be summertime, humid, and heat. Potential rain totals have really backed off as we head into tonight and tomorrow. The coast, you're looking at 1 to 2 with some 2 to 3 coastal counties. Inland, we're forecasting a ½ inch to an inch for Houston or less. That would be great. I would say take this with a grain of salt. Don't let your guard down too much, because with a tropical system sitting on your coast, especially a weak tropical system, the uncertainty in where and how much heavy rain we're going to get tonight and through the first half of tomorrow is large. We could see a heavy rain bullseye get into Houston tomorrow mid-morning. It's not out of the question, so just stay close to the forecast with us. And then looking ahead into Thursday through the day on Friday, through the end of the day on Friday, this is where the heavy rain then gets focused. Baton Rouge, New Orleans, you're looking at 3 to 5, 5 to 8. And I can tell you, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, when you look at this modeling showing 3 to 5, 5 to 8, and you think, well, we can probably take that, or that's not too terribly bad. Over here in southeast Texas, we saw a foot of rain come down right here in 6 hours. And that was part of a 5 to 8 inch rain total forecast that was supposed to be spread out over 3 days. Well, we saw a foot of rain come down in 6 hours right here. So the potential is here for the atmosphere to way outperform what the modeling is showing with rainfall. When you're dealing with tropical systems, quite often the inland rainfall forecast is way below what you actually end up getting. So be very careful with the potential for heavy street flooding at a minimum. Baton Rouge to New Orleans, Slidell down to Mobile, Alabama. Back to Houston, weather impact alert tomorrow as we watch this tropical, will it be a depression, a tropical storm? Will it stay just a disturbance? We'll watch. Bottom line, it's still a flash flooding threat through midday on Wednesday. After that, things should improve. We'll back off on rain chances and take these 90s seriously, because with the humidity around now, that will make it feel like 100, 101, 102, 103 with the afternoon heat indexes. If you're visiting for the games, hydrate like you're playing in the game if you're going to be outside watching or going to the stadium. All right, that's where we stand. I believe we're going to do another update at 9 o'clock, and then we'll be live on KHOU 11 News at 10 o'clock with Landon, Mia, and Jason and I, and all the headlines and complete update. We're going to get an update from the Hurricane Center going into the 10 o'clock news, so we'll have that for you as well. We'll see you at 10.